of all, thanks a lot for the time and welcome to the channel. How you doing, Sean?
Doing good, can't complain. About leave for Vegas in 2 weeks today, so I'm doing good.
So, Sean, as you know, we are speaking to the Brazilian audience, and as we know, one of your BJJ coaches is Augusto Mendes, which is from Brazil. What do you know about Brazil? Have you ever been here?
I've never been there. Would love to go. The only two things I know about Brazil is they got some of the best jiu-jitsu in the world and beautiful women. That's the only two things I know. And acai bowls.
Acai balls, yes.
Uh,
It's a hit in Brazil. And do you learn any words in Portuguese? Augusto teaching you?
No, not really. A little bit of Spanish. I know they translate a little bit, but not quite the same. But not really. No.
Not
Tanquinho Augusto does good with his English.
okay.
Yeah, so
Not even bad words.
no, not any Portuguese ones.
Okay. So, Sean, how is your relationship with Tanquinho? When did you first met him, and how did you started training together?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think Tanquinho came to the lab shortly after I did, I believe, which was 8 years ago or something like that, 7, 8 years ago. I still was very new to jiu-jitsu, and everyone at the gym was just like so, respectful of Tanquinho, and just like we're like in awe of Tanquinho because he was at the gym. And I didn't understand that he was like one of the literally one of the best to ever do it. This was 7 years ago, and he's accomplished even more since then. So once I kind of started learning about more jiu-jitsu and doing more jiu-jitsu, we built a good relationship. Tim and I, my head coach, and I would go to his academy outside of the MMA lab and train under him. So we were actually, doing jiu-jitsu with him also on top of, getting to train with him at the MMA lab. So we were, training with him as much as we could, because I knew for me, my striking was always pretty elite and, up there. It was the grappling. I needed to just get good at grappling. And who better to walk through those doors and to become one of our mentors and one of our professors, than Tanquinho. So, super, super lucky and grateful that he came to Arizona when he did, and, has been a part of the team, the MMA lab, and a part of the, Sugar team. I bring him to my fights. He's in my corner too, for the last couple years. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So I believe that you already saw UFC events from Brazil in TV. So I would like to know what's your opinion about Brazilian crowds. Would you like to have the experience of fighting in Brazil one day?
Yeah, I think it would be interesting. For me, there's a lot of variabilities that go into fighting, and for me, if I can just fight in Vegas, and it just makes everything so much more simple. Fighting so intense. It's such a, you just gotta be so dialed in. For me to fly across the world and to fight somewhere else, it would be challenging. I wouldn't say no. If the opportunity presents itself, and I gotta fight in Brazil, Brazilian in Brazil, I think it would be. Danny, will you take her out? Um, Sorry, my princess is screaming. Never say never, but for me, it's just so comfortable fighting in Las Vegas. Las Vegas feels like home. But you never know.
And how's your training camp going for your fight against Pedro Munoz at UFC 276?
It's going really good. Training camp's been really good. It's been a long one. I'm ready for it to be over. I'm ready for it to be fight week. We still got 2 more weeks till we leave for fight week, which means we still got 2 more, pretty tough weeks of training. I'll make it happen. I'll do what I need to do, but I'm ready. I'm ready for the fight to be here. It's been a long training camp. My weight's good. My body feels really good. Last fight camp, at this time I had hurt my ribs. Actually, rolling with Tanquinho, I hurt my ribs, so I wasn't even able to spar or really train very hard the last 3 weeks of my last fight when I fought Haulion. So this fight camp's is different. I feel my body right now, as of today, I'm healthy, and my weight's good, so I'm very excited about this.
And Sean, what would you say is your biggest weapon against Pedro Munoz?
My biggest weapon. Whew, I got a lot of weapons. That's one thing that I feel like makes me stand out from everyone is I'm very, very dangerous with my right hand, my left hand, my knees, my kicks. I believe in my grappling. I've been training with Tinkinho for a long time, and I've shown my grappling, not really in fights, but I've grappled in tournaments and stuff. So I know how to grapple. I've trained with some of the best guys in the world. I just believe I'm very dangerous all around.
And now the other way around, what would you say is Pedro's biggest weapon against you? That thing that you have to be more careful about during the fight.
He's very Pedro's the toughest dude I fought. I think he's the toughest dude I fought for sure. Right after, I think Halion Paiva was up there too. I would have said the toughest thing about Pedro, he's gonna be there for 15 minutes. Like I can't plan on going in there and just knocking him out in the first, and I got to be ready to go for 15 hard minutes. Like I'm preparing for this to be a war. Pedro's fought, Jose Aldo, Dominic Cruz, Frankie Edgar. He's fought some of the toughest guys, and no one's been able to finish him. So I think that's his toughest attribute is his durability.
You said that you have to be ready for 15 minutes, but do you have any predictions for this fight? How to get it done?
You know, I I'm preparing for a 15-minute war. I wouldn't be surprised if I go out there and put his lights out in the first round. That's just kind of how my fights play out. I think other than the Thomas Almeida fight, that was a third round finish. So was the Chris Moutinho fight. But for the most part, I kind of just see a lot of my fights ending in the first round. I think I'm going to be able to shut his lights off. But I'm not, if we're going to the second round, I'm going to be right there ready to go. If I had to guess, I'd say I'm going to put his lights out in the first, but I'm going to be ready for 15.
And Sean, one thing that is really interesting about you, you were maybe the first UFC fighter to say that you are not going to accept fights against top-ranked opponents unless UFC is paying you more money for it. Since then, there is a trend going on with fighters like Paddy Pimblett and Paulo Costa talking in the same way. Do you feel that you are starting to open people's eyes for this idea?
Yeah, I thought it was common sense. I was saying stuff like that, and people were talking shit and saying stupid stuff, and I'm like, I mean, it seems like common sense. I want to be, I want to, fight the worst dude for the highest amount of money on the highest part of the card, like Chael. That's like word for word what Chael Sonnen says, and I thought, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Why wouldn't you? Why would you want to do a harder job for less money? It just makes sense. And then you got guys like Patty coming up, and it's the same thing. He's not, although he does have a good tough fight ahead of him, but it's not a top 10, it's not a top 5 guy. Like people want, up and comers to fight. So at the end of the day, UFC is doing their job. They're gonna tell you who to fight, and you know what I mean. So it is what it is. But yeah, I think it just makes sense.
And for this fight against Pedro, Pedro is a top ranked guy in your division. Did you renegotiate your deal with
Yes.
the UFC? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So now it's better than before. That makes sense right now for you, right?
Yep. This is, it makes sense. I'm obviously in my head, I want to make millions and millions. I want to, get paid like these basketball players or whatever. But I'm getting paid fairly, I would say. Going into this fight, I'm happy with UFC. I have a great relationship with them, and I want to go out there and earn my money. I want to earn the paychecks. I want to earn it by putting on beautiful performances and do what I'm, have been doing the last 5 years in the UFC.
And Sean, can you say if you are you making more money inside or outside of the octagon now? I'm asking this because we all know that you have your Twitch and YouTube channels. You have more than 2 million followers on Instagram. You know how to make money on internet, right?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely making more money outside the UFC still. And you said I have, the Sugar Merch company. We're doing big things with the merch, YouTube, Twitch. I'm sponsored by Monster, Sanibel, Dr. Dabber, King Palm. Those are my main sponsors, and Yeah, we're making more money outside the UFC right now, but you know that's going to change soon once I start main eventing some pay-per-views and get my pay-per-view points. You know that should change, but I'm happy. I'm very happy with the UFC. They give me the platform to be able to make money outside the UFC, so I'm very happy with where I'm at.
Is it a hard task for you to keep your attention on everything that's going on with your life? You know, you are a fighter, you have to be compromised with the training camp and all that stuff, but you also have a lot of things going on, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you just go and look at my last couple performances, I'm on a 5-fight KO streak. You know, Jose Quinones, Eddie, Thomas Almeida, Chris, Raulian Paiva. I'm on a 5-fight KO streak, and been doing the same thing. I always put training first. It's my main priority. I understand that I have to win fights for everything else outside the UFC to succeed. I go out there and lose 3 fights in a row. I ain't selling T-shirts. I'm not, getting subscribers on Twitch. I'm not, I think I could still be fine and be a influencer or whatever. But my main goal is to become a UFC champion and be, one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world. So as long as I have that in my mind, I think I'm good to continue doing the stuff that I'm doing outside the UFC. I think it's actually a nice balance and a good break from only fighting, only fighting, only fighting. That would get monotonous or whatever that, and just be, so the things I do outside actually I think help my career.
And how many fights do you think you need before you get a shot at the title?
I think, ideally I go out there, knock out Pedro, knock out the next guy, fight for a title early 2023. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but I'm not looking past Pedro Munoz. Toughest guy I fought, very durable, dangerous opponent. So I got to go out there and take care of him.
And speaking to the Brazilian audience, I gotta ask you, how relevant do you think it is Jose Aldo in this division right now? Do you see in the future maybe you facing him?
Absolutely. That would be the one fight in the division I would stand across the cage and be like, damn, this is crazy. Jose Aldo. I feel like I'd kind of maybe feel like that with Dominic Cruz because that was a name. That was also a name back before I was even in the UFC, before I even really watched the UFC. Like those guys were doing it. So yeah, I think the Jose Aldo, he's looking better than he's ever looked. He's fast. He's strong. He's super, super dangerous. That's definitely a potential matchup down the line.
What's your opinion about the situation of the next title shot? Because we all know that probably TJ Dillashaw is gonna fight Aljamain Sterling. A lot of people expect Jose Aldo had his chance. What was your expectation?
Yeah, I don't really. It's a good question. I don't know. I just I don't know. I don't really even care, to be honest. It doesn't matter to me until July 2nd. Pedro Munoz is like the only thing I can think about. I don't even like care about any of the other fights, any other matchups. If I had I think you said that they're gonna do TJ versus Aljamain. That kind of makes sense. I don't. Who did Aljo fight? Who did Aljo fight last?
Peter Young.
That was. Or no, not Aljo. Aldo. Sorry, my bad. Who did Aldo fight last?
Rob Font. Rob Font.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a free win streak. TJ Dillashaw only fought Corey Sanhagen, but he's a
Right.
former UFC champion.
Yeah. Aldo's on a 3-fight win streak, huh?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, I mean that's tough. You definitely. I mean, if you almost got to give it to Aldo just because of the whole TJ getting caught and getting busted, kind of, that definitely should play a role in it. But also, he looked really good against Corey Sandhagen. Obviously, I'm sure they tested him like crazy. He won. I thought he actually lost. I thought Corey won that fight, but he won on the cards and, looked pretty good. So, yeah, I don't know. I think if you want to be moral about it, you give it to Aldo. But I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna knock out Pedro, and then maybe I'll care a little bit more.
And the last thing about the division, do you think Dillashaw gets it done against Sterling?
It's a very interesting fight. Very interesting fight. Both those guys are very high level. I think it's who shows up better that night. I think, those guys fight 10 times. They could go 5-5. That's going to be an interesting fight.
And Sean, what's your goal in MMA? Being a world champion, a dominant champion, being seen as the greatest of all time, or maybe become a superstar, that collect checks and belts, just like Conor McGregor was in the past.
Ideally, if I could pick how it plays out, I'm eventually going to go up to 45. I think I would, I have to, before I do that, I have to become the bantamweight champion. It has to be done. I think I will, once I'm bantamweight champion, deserve and earn a title shot at 45. I believe I can become double champ. And then I do think in the future, Gervonta Davis sounds like a big fight for me. I would love to go over to the boxing world. I know people, love it. They hate it. They don't want to talk about it. MMA never beats boxers. But I'm in the entertainment business, and I believe in my skills, and I truly think that, in 4 or 5 years, that if I'm double champ, or if I've been the bantamweight, been the featherweight champion, Gervonta Davis is still a superstar. There's no reason I can't go over there and perform for the fans in boxing, and put his lights out too, and become the biggest combat sports athlete in the world.
Okay, and Sean, last thing before I let you go, what's your take on what happened with Charles Oliveira, which was stripped of the belt before UFC 274?
Charles is the champ, and everyone knows it. That's just it. I don't think anybody looks at him as not being the champ. I don't think you could find one person that thinks he's not the champ or wouldn't call him the champ. I hope he got his pay-per-view money. I hope he, is making the championship money going into the next fight. Everyone's got to look at him as the champ. The stuff, the fights he's been doing, the performance he's been putting on. Charles Oliveira is the champ, and everyone knows it.
How do you think would play out a fight between him and Khabib Nurmagomedov?
Whew, that's the one interesting fight that I would like to see if Khabib came back in the division. It would be Charles. It's everyone else. I think Khabib kind of mauls. I think Charles is the only one that can really give Khabib problems, and who knows? Maybe that's why Khabib stepped away. Maybe he saw, I don't want that guy. So who knows? But yeah, that's one fight that I would be interested in seeing Khabib come back for, is Charles Oliveira. Be a massive fight.
Okay, Sean, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it. Any message for the Brazilian fans going into this fight?
Sorry, boys. I had to beat up Halion. I had to beat up Pedro. You guys know I love you, but as long as I go in there and put on a performance, I think the fans will always kind of, like me, whether they hate me or not. They're going to watch. I have nothing but respect for Pedro, although I do have to fight him July 2nd. I don't like him until then. July 3rd, we can be buddies. But, yeah, it is what it is. And, I love everyone. Just got to beat up Pedro.